Woo! The explosion is here. Welcome to another podcast series by Advanced Partners. If you guys get a chance, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Staffing Shark. And today's all about Canada. I'm here with my buddy Hunter Reid's in the house. What's up?
All right, Rich.
Hey, man. Did I get that right? Canada? Is that what it's the statement for it or what?
Canada. Now we just apologize. Sorry about that.
Too funny, man. So, brother, man, I tell you what, man, I gotta throw some stuff out there first, man. So, how have you been, man? I haven't talked to you since Staffing World.
You know what? Been absolutely awesome. I've got baby number 8 is on the way, 3 weeks away, so I'm pretty darn excited.
Baby 8. Okay, so you do definitely have time management then, and patience.
Lots of patience. Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta throw this up here real quick here, man. This is your LinkedIn photo. Well, what is going on here? Because seriously, I got to tell you, man, because I think you look like somebody else right here. You ready to throw this up?
Oh, what are you doing?
Are you Andy Gibb?
No, I don't have the hair though.
But you both have the same pose. If seriously, if you look at it real quick here, I got a joke with you, man. Look, you got the hand on the leg. Andy's got the hand on the other leg.
There we go. It's a thing. See, it's a thing.
I got to love that picture, man. Seriously, man. So give us a little bit about Hunter, man. You gave me off screen what's about, but, man, you did a little bit of acting, I believe.
You know what? Yeah, a long time ago now. I look the same, though, so you can recognize me if you go.
Dude, you never age, man. Dick Clark syndrome, right?
So that's it. Lots of kids stay young, right? But yeah, back as a teenager, so 18, 19 years old, did a little work for Disney, and there's some Ready or Not episodes with me in it, and I won't say any more, but that's it. Okay,
so I got to ask you, were you part of the Mickey Mouse Club, and did you date Britney Spears?
No. I did make eye contact with her twice, though. Okay, that was close. That's as close as I got.
Is that in her book?
As close as she got. How's that?
Oh man, too much fun. As you can tell, we're gonna have a blast today, man. High energy and stuff like that. So, okay, this is one market that I think, Hunter, that the people from the States and Canada needs to educate on, because I think when we wrap it up at the end, we have to collaborate together. But I tell you what, the Canada market, give us some insight on what's going on up there.
You know what, we're from a staffing, point of view, certainly coming off of COVID, things have got a little bit tougher. Numbers have come down over the last little bit, but we're starting to see some, stabilization, in particular, in some of the key industries. But overall, we're starting to see that, stabilized growth again, which is, good for everybody. I think one of the things too that we're all eagerly anticipating is a tick down in the interest rates, and hoping that that's for a little bit. In terms of growth in the country, we're sitting sort of at a 1%, 1.5% right now. So I think we've got things sort of post-COVID in check, and I'm pretty excited about what this year and next year is going to bring. I think we've got a good lay of the land. We should see some growth again.
Sweet. And I got to throw this up here first. So here we go. The unemployment rate. I mean, I got to tell you, compared to the States, I think you guys are doing a little bit better, just a tad better.
I think one of the things, there's that old saying, if the States coughs, we get the cold, right? Type thing, right? Just so much, larger in terms of economy and GDP and so forth. However, that being said, I think Canada's proven to be fairly resilient. The past couple of times we've gone through, challenges, and if we date ourselves a little bit, go back to some of the financial crises and things like that. Canada kind of held its nose above water and treaded a little bit better than the U.S. has in those past couple. So, will this time be the same or different? I don't know. I think we're a little more tied together in some ways, and less so on that, if there's a challenge in the U.S., Canada will face it. I think we've broken, or decoupled a little bit of that. Not a ton. I'm not going to say, carte blanche on everything. But Canada's doing all right. Right now, we seem to be doing, a little bit better. Not a ton, but I think we're going to see that rising tide hopefully raises all boats in North America.
So what do you think of the Canada ratio compared to like job openings? Because, down here in the States, I got to tell you straight up, it's like, there's a job on every market. I mean, seriously, every corner is now hiring. Same way in Canada?
Yeah, it really is an employees market still right now. I mean, we've got the unemployment rates, on both sides are in some cases in record lows in some industries and areas. Now, at the same time, Canada's, far and wide. So you've got pockets within the country that, you've got more employees than you've got jobs for their particular, vocational expertise. So there is still a little bit of that happening, and that's pretty typical of our country. But in the centers, if you're not working, it's because you don't want to.
And where's the hub at? Still Toronto, right? Is that where everything's at pretty much?
We've got, we've got sort of, different major centers, but you're really looking at Montreal as the Quebec hub.
Okay.
Toronto, certainly, for what we like to joke is the center of the universe. It's a tongue-in-cheek joke, though, because some people don't like that. It's meant as a negative. But Toronto and sort of surrounding your GTHBA, that hub around that. Certainly Vancouver, and then you've got Edmonton and other major cities from there. Those would probably be your three major hubs within the country, and then the other ones would be smaller.
So the staffing firms, recruiting firms. Okay, so we talked about you got to be effective. So at the end of the day, give us some tips and strategy. What should somebody in Canada do right now to be successful in 24? What are you seeing up your way? I mean, down here we see voice AI. I'm sure it's almost the same way. But is there any things that you think the strategies that can take them over the edge to the next level?
One of the key things that we see, and mostly I'm hearing it from our clients, who are staffing firm owners, and the most successful ones that we're working with and experiencing are really sticking to their knitting. And what I mean by that is not trying to be everything to all people. Yes, they've got to move and adapt, in terms of what's happening in the market. Maybe they're looking at, opening up different regions within the country, or maybe they're looking at, entering the States as an example. Healthcare has been a big boom, industry for both sides of the border, excuse me, for this past few years. And there's no question we've seen a huge fall off as a result of, a couple of different things over this past year. Predominantly in Canada, it's been the changing of some of the rules. The Guard's been changing some of the rules in terms of the government. The nursing union, as a good example, is looking at saying, hey, what's fair pay for fair play here, and making sure that travel nursing is dealt with in a manner that's fair to the people who are domiciled right there, near the hospital, been working there for years, things like that. So we're seeing some of that, but back to your question, it really comes down to, yes, there's a little bit of, bob and weave and adjust in terms of what our clients who are really succeed and working on it. And what they're saying to me is, you've got to really know what you're doing and understand, who you're placing and why you're placing in the industry. So I think there's a place and a time to be the catch-all, but you've got to be a pretty decent sized firm with a lot of people that got good expertise in those areas to be able to pull that off correctly.
You got it, man. And sectors wise. So, I mean, every sector is always great, but do you see a hotbed in a sector in your country that actually is going to really thrive in the next 2 quarters?
You know what? That's a fair question. There's manufacturing starting to come back, which we like, although we've seen lots of challenges inside of that industry too. And it's always a challenge to be able to answer something like that, because yes, I do. But it's going to be in pockets. So, to make a blanket statement and say this is the way it's going to be, it's going to be specifically in regions, right? Not necessarily all in one. So you may have, for an example, prairie provinces with, additional labor right now, and that labor is moving around the country or doing something different to find work, inside of the skilled trades, as an example. You're looking around here in Ontario, and it's very, very difficult to find some of those individuals. Yet you can find them in the prairie provinces, available, wanting, willing to work. And these aren't folks, these aren't guys and girls that are sort of sitting on their hands. These are very, very qualified individuals that are like, hey, you know what? I work hard. I know what I'm doing. The work's just not what I want at this moment. So, they'll move for some of those jobs. So I think with that said, as a very long preamble to answering your question, we're seeing some manufacturing strength come back here in Ontario, which I think is very good. We've got the same happening in sort of mid Vancouver or lower Vancouver, and that's in the Richmond Delta area. And we're all hoping to see, Edmonton start rolling back up, but I don't think that's going to happen, over this next 2 quarters. But that's strongly dependent on oil and gas prices and where we're going to go with some of those larger projects. So
yeah, we won't mention oil and gas prices down here, man. I mean, okay, so I got to compare. Like my brother lives in San Diego, California, and it's almost like $8 a gallon. Compare that to where you're at.
$8 a gallon. I don't know if I can do the conversion, but we're running what, $1.70 something or $1.60 something a liter now. So I don't know how to do the conversion between liter and gallon.
I don't either. Hey, we both missed that in math class, right? We didn't take algebra.
Yeah, I mean, you stumped me on that. I'd have to pull out a calculator.
That's all good. So, the timber industry around here, I'm going to tell you, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, has been taking a hit. We have so many lumber mills going out of business. Do you see that in Canada? A lot of lumber mills, are they thriving still, or are they holding back?
It's whenever we've got housing booms and a lot of movement and things like that, of course, that's where a lot of it's going. And of course, Canada's an exporter of that as well as just a huge natural resource. So we're not, again, we're sort of steady Eddie in that regard. We've got a huge housing market, need. We've got 1 million people coming into the country through immigration, which is basically Canada's way of growing. It's how we have for years. And you figure for a country, with 41-ish million people, 1 million new people a year means in the next 10 years, 1 out of 4 people has never stepped foot in this country before. So it's pretty fascinating when you think about, that type of thing. But we've got to be able to grow and sustain that type of growth. And again, in those epicenters we were talking about, those key areas, predominantly about half of those people will stay in Ontario, Toronto, and surround. The rest will disperse across the country. But you've got Montreal, Quebec, and Vancouver being the other 2 hotspots. And then you've got the other cities that sort of pick up the balance. So that's a lot of growth. So lumber side, I think we're going to continue to see, continued work inside of that area, as long as we got to keep building these, sky rises, houses, you name it, and all of the other, right, commercial, industrial, et cetera, that's all there. One of the interesting things that we're seeing in the country right now is, for really one of the first times ever, we've got Nova Scotia that is just, they can't find enough people, and it's a smaller community base or population base to begin with. They can't find enough people to actually do all of the work that's out there right now. And for the next couple of years, we're going to continue to see that because of some of the major projects that are being run out there right now. What
is the deal with Nova Scotia? Is it like it's a very small town, right?
It's beautiful area. And but I think total population, I'd have to pull it up, be a couple million. It's not a ton, right? Not a ton of people. So when you've got major projects that are requiring those skills, where do you get them from, right? You got to pull them from out of province. And that's sort of new, right? They've traditionally, you've got a lot of sort of East Coast to West Coast. Maybe 20 years ago was the big thing. Everybody would move from one side of the country and head for the oil dollars. And then, of course, we have Newfoundland and Labrador, which really picked up with major projects over the past dozen years, and that's Hibernia and a number of those. So they sort of drew back a number of people in that direction. And this is the first time that Nova Scotia is really, getting their chance to be on the podium, and really booming and bustling right now.
Well, I got to tell you, down here in the States, the housing market for rental it's booming. I don't know if it is up your way, but it's like everybody is such like running these nice places now because our interest rates are kind of high right now. Yeah. But getting back to the manufacturing and stuff like that in small pockets here, even in West Virginia, they have like a manufacturing and there's only like 15,000 people, which in 10 years you went through the whole population there. So who's going to move there? So I know here in the States, a lot of companies that are building new manufacturing stuff like that are on major highways. I mean, you got to have a major highway, or you're going to be out of stink after a while.
Yeah. So I think one of the things too, going back to an earlier question just about, what can staffing firms do in that is really look into your other markets. If you're, as you're talking about, if you've got a West Virginian staffing firm, or a local staffing firm in any market for that matter, can you apply that trade, in a neighboring state or in a neighboring province? Or certainly, with all of the work that we do with advanced partners, you can now step across the border in either direction, right? So if you've got a US-based staffing firm and you've got the opportunity to do some Canadian work, you can do that just with your partnership with Advance now, right? And that's all comes through here, Payroll Funding Canada. It's about opening up new markets, but making sure that you've got, the right partners and people that understand that market, so you're not going to get tripped up. You can focus and do what you're doing really well, and then make sure that your partnership around you, whomever those connects are, run the rest of it for you. And the same for Canada. So You've got Canadian customers of ours that are now moving down into the States. They're working in the States, and again, we do that all through our partnership with Advance. So yeah.
So break that down for me, Hunter, because a lot of people in the States here, I go to all these conferences and stuff like that, and they want to expand it to like Canada, or Canada wants to go in the United States, but sometimes they're kind of leery. You went through this before with other companies, so give them the gist on how smooth it is.
Yeah, you know what? Again, it's very, very much the smoothness is going to be based heavily on the partnerships that you have, who you're working, who you're outsourcing things to, or who you've hired. Not internally. I'm not talking about your internal team, but who you've hired on or brought on as a partnership company to do that. So if you're moving, for an example, from one state to another, you want to make sure that you understand the laws of that state. Are you employing those people? Do you have a partnership with that? Are you working with advanced partners? Are you having a full service done or something like that? Or are you working with somebody else? But make sure that you've got somebody who's an expert in that space. They do it all the time. They know what they're doing. In our case, we run in all jurisdictions, or we'll do the EOR across Canada. So anywhere that somebody wants to work here in Canada, we can either be the EOR, let them, and again, not to do a little just infomercial just on us, but I think the importance
go for it, man.
There you go. But the importance of that question really comes down to, check and make sure, right, that this is a company that you're bringing on to support you, and that they have been doing it. Right. So we've been doing this 20 years, Advanced Partners, I think it's 20, 25, 26 years now for them. And it's about ensuring that wherever you're going to go, you've got someone that knows what they're doing and they can make that happen. So one of the neat things that we see more and more often now is, U.S. clients opening up, RFPs, and then RFP says you got 3% or 5%, exposure to Canada. Do you want to take it on? And a lot of companies have been saying no, right? So we've been out there now, in our partnership with Advance, and we're just saying, yeah, say yes to that. So
oh yeah, yes,
sure. And again, that's because within a week or two, you can move seamlessly into. So as long as you know how to hire those people, those things don't change when you cross borders, whether those are state borders, provincial borders, or again, even the border between our countries, right? So if you've got that opportunity, do it. And we're saying the same thing to our Canadian customers. We're like, look, if you're looking to grow and you want to move into another province, we'll help you get there. We'll support you getting there. If you want to get across the border, and you've got the ability to recruit well, your clientele's leading you there. Now they've got the opportunity to do it. They don't have to put a shingle out, right? They don't have to invest a ton of money into that time or that space until they put the time in. And really identified that that's a good move for their business. Maybe they do want an office there, but they want to, we all kind of like to do this. There's a few of us, maybe like you and I, Rich, we might just cannonball right into it and be like, we're going anyway.
Oh yeah, just deep dive in, man.
Right? Let's
you just said cannonball. We're dating ourselves, brother.
Yeah, I know, right? So I don't know what you would call it now. I'm sure there's a cooler term, but that being said, I think a lot of more hesitancy is we don't know how to do it. So some of the things that keep us out of new markets, we don't know how to do it. We're concerned about screwing something up or having it harm our business. We don't know who the partners should be. That who do we use if we're going to move interprovincially, different states across the border. And I think there's that invisible sort of border blank that holds us off and goes, I got lots of work I can do here in the States. I don't need to talk about Canada. But the reality is, if you're working with your clients and you have an opportunity, I call it, client wallet share. And I'm not saying about, stick your money in or stick your hand in the client's wallet to take the money. They're handing it out. The question is, are you getting it, or is your competitor getting it, or somebody totally getting it, right? So if you've got the opportunity, why wouldn't you want to serve your customer more and pick up another 3, 4, 5%, right? And for Canadian companies going to the States, often those opportunities are bigger, right? Again, just because of size of economies. So you've got for an example, we've got one Canadian client who's just opened up their first office in Georgia. We're absolutely delighted for them. We now got them on both sides of the border here in Toronto, and now they're in Georgia, and they're looking at doing some serious expansion. They need to make sure that they've got the right people on both sides of the border. So
what I love is, like, seriously, yourself and Advanced Partners, you have that where they can call, and actually say, hey, I want to take this chance. You're not taking that chance by yourself. You're taking it with a team. That's the key.
That's right. I think that one of the big things that we're very, very well aligned on is ensuring that we are partnering with the staffing firm. They get to use our expertise when they need it, right? So if they need it, they want that support, we're all in, right? Our teams are set up in such a way that we're there to really help them, facilitate them, because we want to partner in their growth. Right now, that's, Advance's tagline. We do the same thing here. So it's where they want to go, and make sure that, you can do it lock arm, and every now and then we might cheers a beer or a glass of wine and have a little celebration about everybody's success.
I love it, man. Okay, so I got to ask you, and people ask me this all the time. When you have payroll, Canada, US, it's in the same week. How complicated is that, or how smooth can you make it? Because some people say, wow, I'm going to have payroll nightmares.
Then yes, you certainly could run into it. So we here, meaning a payroll fund in Canada, we'll run in any jurisdiction across the country. So you can in any territory, any province. We've got two different legal structures, one that covers Quebec, and then one that covers the balance of the country. And they're built off of two different systems as well. So you've got to really understand what you're doing in those spaces. Again, we're working in all those jurisdictions. So if you've got someone, that can do that for you, great. If you're going to do it on your own, you've got a lot of legwork to do, right? And look, some people want to do it on their own. They've got that expertise. They've not only got the legwork done, are willing to do it, but they've got that expertise. They can make it happen for themselves. Same thing goes for the states. We don't actually manage the states. We've got partner groups in the states because you got the two functions, one being either PEO or the employer of record, PEO being much more prevalent in the US than it is in Canada.
Okay, so a couple more questions before we wrap things up. So do you see a lot of staffing firms expanding to Canada, or do you see the vice versa, Canadian based going into the United States? Do you see, is it a 50-50, or do you see more like really taking that leap, like we said, cannonball, and doing it?
You know what? Actually, that's kind of a fun question. I've spent a lot of time in the U.S. talking with clients and potential clients about coming to Canada and doing that sort of thing. So I think I'm biased in the sense that, I kind of jumped into that, right? And I love to travel, and there's so many great cities, to be in, and places to be in there. So with that, yes, there's certainly a lot more of that from my experience. But what's very interesting is we've just wrapped up our year of conferences here. So we do the spring conferences, and in the US we've got sort of the circuit, that for me anyway tends to be in the fall, which works out beautifully, by the way. But during these conferences, in both cases, there were either main sessions, breakout sessions, and a lot of people talking about how do we move our business acumen and our ability from Canada to the States. And of course, we've just started assisting our clients in doing the same. So I think we're going to see that balance out. But I think the opportunities are both very, very real. In both cases, it's relatively easy to get it done with the right people beside you. Yeah.
100%.
Couple of weeks and you're in business. It's pretty wild.
There it is, man. And I really think, seriously, at these conferences, they should have a topic about this, how to collaborate, US and Canada.
Yeah.
I think this is something maybe we should bring up to staffing world and, SIA and all that stuff, because this is something I think we talk about everything else, but this collaboration, I think we need to get this handshake. The shark shake needs to be across the border. Let's do it.
I think it's great.
Exactly. So I got to ask you, what's up with this real quick here, man? We got another shout out here. Look at this.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You were on the magazine here. I pulled that. So, man, you're everywhere. So explain that to me about HR, because you're definitely tapped in with them a lot.
We had an interview process with them and whatnot. And of course, they wrote some wonderful things throughout the articles in that particular magazine. And then they needed good looking people to be on the cover. So my staff got on there, and then they just kind of yanked me into the front. So that's what happened. What can I say?
I know. I see you in the front. I'm thinking this guy's in the front of everything. But you know what that means? You're a leader, man. You just jumped to the front, dude. Unless you're cutting the line. Unless you cut the line at the end.
I was going to say, a very, very good friend of mine once said, he said, do you know whether or not you're a leader? And I said, well, I think I do. I get into this sort of like, I think so. Yeah, of course. I do all these. He says, no, turn around. Anybody following? That's how you know you're a leader. So just keep doing that. Do things right.
I love it,
people are going to, jump on board and get going. So, and I love doing it. Yeah,
sweet. Let's give a plug out real quick to Advanced Partners here. There they are. If you need Advanced Partners, you know what they are. You ready for this, buddy? You're going to love this. You know what? If you need funding, you know who to call. Advanced Partners. They put the FUN, fun and funding. Advanced Partners. Dude, it's all about FUN. Seriously, at the end of the day, man, it's having fun and relying on somebody you can trust and relationship building, brother. You know that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think that it is, and one of the areas that I'll spend a little bit of time in on a regular basis is just, personal, not self-help, but self-growth, and the reason for that is that I think no matter what, we're always going to be learning. We're going to do this in our 40s. We're going to do this in our 50s. Hopefully, if we're, doing it right, we'll be doing it right till the very last day, still learning, still growing, still helping others. So.
Dude, the whole thing is, remember Grandpa back in the day, 78 years old, said, kid, everything's going to recycle itself. You're going to learn more and more. Dude, it's coming back. Styles are coming back. Everything's coming back. So just learn and listen to everybody, all ages, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. All ages and all generations, right? You got to watch for that.
That's it, brother. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up, man? I'm glad you came on, man. Appreciate it, man. We always have a blast, man. I can't wait to see you again. But any final thoughts out there on what we talked about, man?
I absolutely love the industry. I think anybody who is in this industry, as a leader of their firms and what they're doing, I think they'd say the same. We're people based. That's exactly, why we're doing it. And it's the entire industry is based on one thing, and that's helping. And I don't mean to be, cheesy about it or anything like that. But if you think of it from every level, right, whether or not it's the leader of the organization, starting their staffing firm, then hiring people and helping them, grow and whatnot. The very nature of the business, of course, is helping individuals find good, employers, finding, great employers to, go out there and find those great candidates that will match them. It's all literally about connecting and helping other individuals grow, right? Grow, do better, and then staying connected with them, right? So doing life together. I think it's one of the reasons why, we enjoy the industry so much. It's also one of the reasons why you get a lot of forward-facing, sort of out there kind of people. Maybe some of us a little crazier than others. I'll put myself in that category from time to time.
Is that a political word? Crazy? Are we crazy or just nuts? Which one is it?
Crazy in a good way, right? Crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
There, yeah. But we were chatting one of the times that we were chatting before. It comes down to not everybody's going to like you, not everybody's going to love you, and that's okay. As long as we're being good with other people, and this goes for all of us, right? As long as we're being good to other people and we're helping them grow, and whether we're in leadership positions or we're in following positions. And honestly, I think a leader does both. So we all got to do that. You don't have to be out there for everybody. Be out there and be true to you. Do your thing. Do it well. Treat people with excellence, and the rest is going to work out one way or another. And then make sure you get good partners. That's important.
You got it, man. Well, hey, that's a wrap. Thank you again, brother, man. Had a great show, man. We'll have to bring you on again. That's a wrap. Till next time. Love everybody and just love life. Take care.
Cheers.